You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
U.S. Cellular has noticed the way we use our phones has gotten ironic. We try to put our phones down for dinner, but the menu's on a QR code. That's ironic. We hit like on social posts that we don't actually like, which is ironic. Which is why U.S. Cellular created Us Mode, to help us reconnect with each other and use our phones less ironically. A phone company wanting people to use their phones less is ironic. Let's find us again with Us Mode from U.S. Cellular. Visit uscellular.com/built-for-us to get started.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us, 865-658-5824. Join alongside Tim, live in Green Bay. I'm going to tell you something. Me and Tim, neither of us had time to run a comb through the hair this morning. I rode out of bed and I am wore out, man. How you doing this morning, bub?
Good morning.
Absolutely perfect.
Happy to be here, man. I'm glad we can talk some ball. I got some diesel in the cup. We'll get it going, man. I'm waking up. I'm ready. Where's Jacob? What's Jacob doing?
I think he's buttoning something up with family. He'll be in here a few minutes late, but he's definitely going to be here. Emilio, there's no chance. If it's before noon, Emilio ain't getting out of bed on the weekend. I'll tell you, man, I'm on my fifth shot of espresso this morning, so I'm wired for sound. This is what my hair looked like after I finished that fifth shot. You know what I'm saying? I love that picture of Robbie Anderson. It's one of my faves, for sure. All right, so we're going to kind of pick up where we left off last night. One thing I love about Packers football is like the day after, how everything kind of rolls in, things that you miss. There's so many people that are covering the team, watching the games. There's little things that you'll miss here or there. So I like to kind of comb through Twitter, grab a cup of coffee, and see, all right, what did I miss yesterday? So we're going to hit on a few things like that. Before we do, so one thing that came across that I'm I don't want to say I'm worried about, but I'm definitely keeping my eye on, Tim, is, this running back position, running back group, I should say. A.J. Dillon caught a lot of criticism, and I got on Twitter thinking, man, were we too harsh on him? It seems like everybody's like, man, they're really, really down on 28. I hope he turns it around. I don't think there's a better dude on the team. It's just, man, sooner or later, something's got to give there. But when you look at the running back room, Marshawn Lloyd, obviously, we were really excited about seeing him. He had one carry. He broke outside for whatever it was, 8 yards. It looked good, but the hammy got re-aggravated. So I wanted to kind of keep our finger on the pulse there. Tom Silverstein tweeted this out, and I picked it up because Paul Brettel reposted it. Said, Packers running back Marshawn Lloyd said he's been pushing through a hamstring issue in camp and felt it pull while bouncing a run outside. I've had hamstrings before, so I'll just rehab and get back as fast as I can, he said. Said he can walk on it okay, so he's hoping it's not bad. We know how hammies are all the way back to the Clay Matthews days. Obviously, Christian Watson having to deal with it the last couple of years. That's something that this is just me, and I have no reason to believe other than just my personal opinion, so please take this with a grain of salt. It being a hamstring, I'm not expecting him to be right till about a quarter of the way through the season, because it just seems like every time we have a hammy, back in Clay's day and also with Christian Watson, we rush him back, re-aggravated, rush him back, re-aggravated. Tim, how do you feel about that situation? And I say all that because if he's not ready to go week one consistently, and they're trying to rehab that thing and get it right, which I think is the right move, rather than just trying to limp along all year, A.J. Dillon's going to make this roster, man. I mean, there's a good chance even if Marshawn Lloyd's healthy, A.J. Dillon makes a roster. But what do you think about that? Just the running back room as a whole.
That was kind of my reaction was, well, A.J.'s roster spot is safe for the time being, certainly. And I do think, there's logic to both sides of the argument. Clearly, he didn't do anything super spectacular yesterday, but he also carried the ball 4 times. So let's not freak out here. I think we owe it to ourselves. And I certainly think A.J. Dillon has been here long enough to earn the right to make it through a preseason before we decide what we're going to do with him. But the running back room looks strong. I liked what I saw from Merriweather yesterday as well. A little bit of sample we got from him. But, man, I can't say enough about Manuel Wilson, man. He just looks solid as a runner. In traffic, in space, with a blocker, without a blocker. Emmanuel Wilson is fun to watch. So I think we're good. I think the running back room is good. Obviously, Josh Jacobs is going to continue to see limited action being our running back number one here. But I really do. I think it's going to be a close race here with the Marshawn Lloyd injury. It's going to be Emmanuel Wilson probably scooting up the depth chart here, maybe being our running back number 2 here, and A.J. Dillon holding on to that third spot. We will see, though. There's a lot of camp left, and there's a lot of preseason ball. We got a couple more games here, so a lot can change in the next few weeks. Absolutely.
And those who were calling for people's heads week 1 of the preseason, you'll never hear from them again if they get it straightened out. That's how it always works. I've been as guilty as anyone. It's like, man, we got to change something here. They start playing good. It's like, okay, never mind. I didn't say that. So that's all part about all part of being an emotional fan, which I'm telling you that fits me to a T. Let's go to the chat real quick. I know we got it lit up in here. Jarrell Lee says, "Go Pack, go!" Evan Williams might just be our Atari Bigby, always around the ball. What's crazy too, Jarrell, and I've seen tweets about how we played that shell again last night, meaning 2 high safeties, and people were still mad. And it's guys, I've tried to prep myself mainly, but everyone who listens and watches this show, nothing drastic is going to change. Like, I could see them moving a little pre-snap and trying to have the safety in the box pre-snap more often, and I feel like they probably will. But these people who are convinced, and this isn't Jarrell, this is the first thought that it triggered when him talking about Evan Williams, because let me just say this. One of the plays, Evan Williams was playing at 2 high shell, and he comes flying down and makes the play. That's what LaFleur was talking about with the Steelers game last year, going, hey, look, they had no problem meeting their run fits. We were playing one gap when they were in one back. Like, you guys are missing the point here. These guys should be able to meet their run fits in a 2 high shell. You've seen Evan Williams did it just fine. Now, I say that because there's still people showing screen grabs of two high safety going, I just think it's something in Green Bay. They're just never going to change this. Everybody does it across the league. You had a handful of drunken fans, drunken podcasters that were able to convince a large crowd of people last year that Joe Barry's the only idiot that does this. The whole purpose of the shell, the too high pre-snap look is there's 2 things. One, you want to give the quarterback the same exact look every pre-snap so he cannot decipher any information before the ball snapped. Because the 2 biggest things about playing quarterback outside of accuracy is pre-snap read, post-snap adjustment. Every time. That's it. So if you're showing the same pre-snap read every time, meaning the same look, they're not gathering any information from you. That's an old Belichick trick that he did on Peyton Manning. They studied the play clock and when Peyton liked to snap the ball because, he would come to the line, Omaha, look it over, change the entire play, then go set. They would wait. They looked at Bill Belichick and his staff. I think Romeo Crennel was on that staff at the time too. They watched the play clock and said, okay, he usually does that around the 12-second mark. So let's don't tip our hand until we get under 12 seconds. So Peyton will come to the line. He'd see everything. Okay, cool. Check Omaha. He'd go changing the play. And then 3 seconds later, Bill would get into their normal look. And now it's too late for Peyton to change the play. That's kind of where I don't want to say it's where it originated, but that was one of the more successful ways of doing that. So teams are going to show 2 high shell because pre-snap, it tells the quarterback, okay, if they've got a 2 high shell, we can't attack the seams. Therefore, we're not going to be able to go down the field consistently. So with that being said, let's play underneath. Then post-snap, everyone adjusts. They rotate into the box, and it's a totally different look. So you're forcing the quarterback to consistently play post-snap as opposed to pre-snap. I say all that because there's still people that, like I said on Twitter, they're like, I can't believe we're still playing with 2 deep safeties. It's like everybody does this. I tried to say it all year last year, and I'm telling you, I got roasted. It's Joe Barry apologist. No, the big difference you're going to see with Hafley, Tim, he's coaching up these DBs. Joe Barry was a linebacker coach, period. He wasn't going to go out there and show Jai how to play proper technique in coverage. Jeff Hafley's hands-on, and I think you're going to see a big difference there. But I don't know if all that makes sense. That was a bit of a rant, and I apologize. It's so frustrating because this is nothing new, Tim. We talked about it all year last year.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is too, we talk about, Pat Kerwin's book, right?
Yep.
Take your eye off the ball. I think a lot of these people that we're not going to name specifically, you know who they are. You can see their Twitter feeds. I think they're pre-snap. They are looking around and they're screaming at defensive alignment, and then the ball is snapped, and they're watching the ball, and they're not watching anything else going on the back end. They're not seeing, like you said, post-snap rotation, things like that. I think it'll take time to get used to this new defense, but I cannot believe that there are people already complaining.
One preseason game.
It just boggles my mind. And I thought our defense played really well yesterday. It was refreshing to see us get in there and stop the run on a few, more than a few plays. You can't tell me this defense hasn't improved already. I think some people just want to find something to complain about, honestly. And it's just sad because there's more to be excited and happy about than there is to complain about. If you want to complain about AJ Dillon, getting stopped at the line of scrimmage, okay, I understand that. That's fine. But when it comes to this defense, man, these guys are playing downhill. It's going to be exciting to see once we get into the regular season, man. You'll hear no complaints about this Jeff Hafley defense. I love it. And you're right. Absolutely hands-on. We saw it at camp. We've seen it at camp. He will take the time, pull you to the side, and he will show you. He will, we say hands-on. He's literally putting his hands on his players and showing them where to go, how to play this technique. We saw the footage a couple of days ago of him working with Stokes and Jair on the foot placement coming off the snap, how to play these receivers when they try and jam you at the line. This is just great. And you're right. We didn't see that from Joe Barry, and this is not going to be a Joe Barry, bash fest or anything. It's just different coaching styles, different styles of coordinating a defense. And the whole reason we brought Jeff Hafley in here is because it was time for something new. And that's what we're seeing is something new. So give yourselves time out there, people, to digest this whole new defense that we have. And that's the end of my rant. So we both got a rant out of the way this morning, Clayton.
It's just the whole purpose of us doing the show is for all of us to learn together. And I've said this, and I know people roll their eyes and go, oh, he's just trying to be. No, I'm dead serious. I've learned more from our listeners, more from the chat, more from Tim, Jacob, Emilio, everyone that we're kind of, hanging out. There he is.
Hi, Jacob.
Everyone that we're spending time with. I've learned more from you guys than I have anything else in the last decade of watching football. Like, that's the whole purpose of the show, is to kind of learn as we go. And the main thing you got to do is start to filter out some of that noise, because Tim kind of hit the nail on the head. When people tweet stuff like that, first of all, they're not tweeting to try to better you as a fan. They're not tweeting for them to learn as a fan. They're tweeting to get interaction. They're tweeting to get people commenting, people quote tweeting, all those things, right? That's kind of the name of the game on Twitter. I never want our Twitter account to come across like that, other than just to make fun of Bears fans occasionally. Like, hey guys, let's all rally together and poke fun at them real quick. So we got Jacob in here now. We can officially get started. Jacob, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well.
Good.
I'll admit I was one of those that jumped on AJ pretty hard yesterday, and I still feel it.
It hasn't left. You're not the only one, man.
I think he's going to make the team just because of the injury situations and that stuff. But I'm sure we'll get into it here in a minute. But there's a lot of guys that help their chances, and unfortunately, I think that there are going to be a lot of injuries. So people talk about how preseason doesn't mean stuff. I saw a lot of great things on tape from a lot of people that I didn't expect. Robert Rochelle comes to mind, a guy that would never make the team, but if a few injuries pile up, it's good to know that he's making plays.
Absolutely. Very well said. In the chat, Nick McSwain says, Clayton, did y'all get rid of the YouTube subscriptions? I used to be subscribed, but I'm not anymore and don't see anywhere to do it. Take my money. So, Nick, basically, long story short, I don't want to tie up too much time here with the pod. There were things that got us demonetized. They have not specified what those things are, so we were kind of firing in the dark. It's supposed to be back on August 24th, okay? So if it returns on August 24th and everything gets approved, you'll see that membership button pop back up. You'll also see super chats become available again. In the meantime, though, what we're doing, if you want to support the channel, we can steer you in the direction of Patreon. And we're doing a lot of really cool things at Patreon as well. Like we got a fantasy league that's almost filled up. It may be filled up now. We had a bunch of people join. But we got like a fantasy league we're going to be doing giveaways. Like last night, it was actually Cheesehead Murph that won the copy of Take Your Eye Off the Ball 2.0. That's who that was. So,
nice.
That's Murph?
Yeah,
Murph.
So,
What's up,
hell
Murph?
yeah. That's awesome.
And like it's Chewy, I got to get the frame photo that he won the other day. We got a frame photo that was donated by Mr. Larry, and it's of Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and Bart Starr together. Things like that. It's just a way for us to give back to people who are supporting the channel. So what I would suggest, Nick, and anyone else who's interested in supporting the show, just hop over to Patreon. Go to patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access, just like the title reads here. And again, the YouTube stuff's going to come back up. It's going to be back up later. But that is one thing that won't, we can control is the Patreon and things like that. So again, I don't want to like dog YouTube or anything. They've got their rules in place. My thing is you can't communicate with anybody. You can't go, hey, what's wrong? What happened? What did we do wrong here? We'll fix it. That's what I was trying to do. And it's go read the policies. That's literally all they tell you. Go read the policies.
It's such a weird business model because they are pushing people to their competitors and they don't give a crap about it. Yeah. It's really weird.
So and I want to say this, if anything ever happens to the channel, and we had to do this before, if anything ever happens to the channel, you can find us on Rumble. You can also find us on X. That's the beautiful thing with competition is, in the past, where else you going to go, right? Because X was in a similar situation. Twitter was in a similar situation a year ago where specific people choose what they deem, worthy content, and at any moment they can hit you and it's over. So anyway, we're here for Packers Talk. Nick, thank you so much for asking, bud. Appreciate it. Nick McSwain said, dang, y'all were causing trouble in the offseason, huh? Can't say I'm surprised. I blame Jacob for anything negative that happens on this show. Obviously, Murph in that.
Things could be a lot worse. I could be a Bears fan.
We got Jake G126 in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, Omer hit it right there. As soon as you start sharing videos. What's crazy is if you share a video and it's on YouTube, I get it. We have never went to YouTube and shared a video. No. Like, we understand those policies. But if you share something else from another website and someone else has that same exact content on their YouTube channel, the AI can pick it up and trigger it as copyright. And it's like, what the hell are we doing here? So they don't have rights to that video. But because the AI is so in demand right now, that's the big issue. Anyway, Omer says, Evan Williams or Emmanuel Wilson, take your pick. Because I asked who was everyone's favorite player of the game type thing, right? Who was your MVP of the game yesterday?
EW, baby. If your name's EW, then you're the player of the game.
EW. Omer says Evan Williams or Emmanuel Wilson, take your pick. I completely agree with those. Any disagreement there, guys? Both those players played well. Emmanuel Wilson needs to be on this roster, man. I'm sorry. Yeah. He showed it for 2 years in a row now. And hopefully he's completely healthy. And it seems like he is, man. He's just so fluid. With the running back room now, it kind of feels like Marshawn Lloyd. There's a legit shot he could start the season on IR, where they do that 4-week IR or whatever. If that's the case, I mean, you've got to get Emmanuel Wilson on this roster, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's played amazing. And that's my biggest gripe has been with Dylan. It just seems like if you ask him for 1 yard, he'll get you a half yard. Whereas every time I saw a couple either third and shorts or second and shorts with Emmanuel Wilson, and the guy, he gets you that yard, but then he falls forward for 3. I remember that was always certain Packers running backs. It was great that they would always like fall forward. That was kind of the biggest thing with Dylan. It just constantly seems like the second he makes contact, he's going backwards. And I don't understand it. I love the way that Emmanuel Wilson runs. I was listening to Ryan's podcast this morning and he said the same thing. He goes, man, how does he not make this team? Like, unless there's something very glaring in his game, like he's horrible at pass protection or he's not great in the passing game. But I just haven't seen any type of play on the field other than really, really adequate, if not superb. Yeah,
I completely agree, man. I think he should be on the team. Nick McSwain agrees, says Emmanuel Wilson or LVN. Tim, LVN looked good last night, man. Looked thicker than a bowl of oatmeal, bro. He's looking good out there, man.
The Lukeness monster. Yes, man. That guy is a monster. And you know what? I think it's fair. I mean, you can pick one from each side of the ball, right? So I'm taking Emmanuel Wilson on offense for sure. And my boy Evan Williams, man, is my defensive pick. But, man, you can't deny LVN had himself a game yesterday. And this defensive front, ladies and gentlemen, is going to give us a season of excitement. I promise you. I think the days of getting dog walked on 3rd and 4 are over with. I think we are going to get in there, be effective against the run and against the screen game. And our secondary is certainly improved from the safety room to our corners on down. This defense is taking a big step. So I'm looking forward to seeing LVN get out there with his hand in the dirt and get after it this year. It's going to be awesome.
Absolutely. Jacob?
Yeah, he looked explosive, dude. And we said it last night. It wasn't just the bull rush, which, don't get me wrong, I saw plenty of bull rush, but I saw some spin moves, some swing moves. I saw some stunting. I saw him shedding blocks and engaging in the run game, setting the edge. I mean, he looked really, really confident. And
US Cellular has noticed the way we use our phones has gotten ironic. We try to put our phones down for dinner, but the menu's on a QR code. That's ironic. We hit like on social posts that we don't actually like, which is ironic. Which is why US Cellular created Us Mode, to help us reconnect with each other and use our phones less ironically. A phone company wanting people to use their phones less is ironic. Let's find us again with Us Mode from US Cellular. Visit uscellular.com/built-for-us to get started.
This episode is brought to you by our good friends at NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. I'm sure by now you've all gotten back into your Sunday routines, but they could be even better. With NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get the most live NFL games all in one place, every game, every Sunday. And you can even watch up to 4 different games at once with Multiview, one of my favorite inventions of this decade. It's exactly what you need to catch all the action, make your Sundays more magical. And also, YouTube TV is great. I got it this year. It's awesome. Sign up now at youtube.com/BS. Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Lips and Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Lips and Ads. Go to lipsandads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
I just think it's a great rotation. Like Tim just said, I'm trying to think in my mind the last time we had a D-line where throughout the rotation, I mean, I'm talking from start to bottom. I don't know if you want to consider Slayton a starter, but I would consider Brooks a possible starter, Wyatt a starter. I mean, even guys like Kobe Wooden showed up last night. He looked amazing.
TJ's making a case for himself, though, to start. He really is.
Who's that?
TJ Slayton.
Oh, TJ, yeah. And that's not, again, we haven't talked about the edges, the DNs. And I thought Gary looked okay. He looked a little quiet, over pursued a little bit. I think he's just been champing at the bit so hard to get out there. I thought Brenton Cox did show some stuff. He got burned a couple times by being a little too aggressive. But I thought Kingsley Enagbare looked all right. There was that one where you could tell he took a bad angle on the bootleg and hated it as he's chasing down DTR. He's like, son of a, you could see it on his face. He's so mad at himself. And Brenton Cox did the same thing where he just took too sharp of an angle, allowed the quarterback to roll outside. But those are good plays to have in the preseason because I think he's going to put that in, both of them are going to put it in their memory like, yo, you can't do that again. You're going to look like an idiot sitting there wearing clown shoes.
Like you said with Kingsley, though, he looked like he's trusting that knee, which is good. He didn't look like he was hobbled or anything, even when he did take that bad angle. You know, usually that's when you'll see a guy pull up kind of funny, tweak something. So clearly Tim, he's okay.
Tim, tell me what you think about this. My hot takes for yesterday was basically that I thought Wilson played himself on the team and that AJ may have not, but with the injury, we know how that's going to probably work out. My other hot take was that I thought DeBose surpassed Heath as far as if we have to have 6 wide receivers. Do you see that as a reality? Because dude, that toe. Do you remember the toe drag? catch he made, that was.
You don't have to convince me, man. I've been talking about Grant DuBose for months. But yeah, no, I agree with that. Malik Heath only had, I believe, one target. Did he get one or two targets? He had a catch yesterday.
Yeah.
And of course he got down and dirty with the run blocking too. This is the thing, man. I wonder if I joked with my uncle last night. We were talking about this. I said, well, cut a running back and keep 7 receivers. And, we have a lot of these receivers. I'm looking at guys right here. Bo Melton, Tay Wicks.
Bo had a bad night too.
Certainly Jaden Reed. When you talk about receivers that can be used with these jet sweeps and almost utilized like a running back in some of these sets, it does make me think that you could go one less guy in the running back room and keep an extra receiver around as a slash. I think it's going to be very tough. It's going to be between Malik Heath and Grant DuBose for that last spot. My question is it receiver 6 or is it receiver 7? You guys think there's a chance they keep 7 receivers at all, or am I just dreaming?
It depends on how much LaFleur wants to run 11 personnel. Right. If we're going to lean a little more into 12 than we did last year, and we ran the most 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends of any team in the league, then I would say 7's a little rich. But if you're going to keep that same look of that large majority of 11 personnel, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they keep 7. Guys are going to get banged up. And again, we're already seeing at the running back position, obviously, we hate to say it, but it's the reality of the situation every preseason. A lot of these questions we're asking are going to be kind of answered with injuries, or at least starting the season on the 4-week injured reserve list type thing. Omer in the chat said Sean Ryan looked great at center too. I haven't seen the snaps of him at center yet, Omer, but I know this. I tweeted that video out of Sean Ryan dragging Emmanuel Wilson. Emmanuel Wilson just I'm going to grab the big fella's belt loop here and hold on.
That's actually kind of cool.
It was kind of a funny moment for me, bro. The comments, everybody was like, Sean Ryan looked great last night. He showed up, So it was like,
of course he did. I talked crap about him before the game. I talked crap about him having bad snaps at camp, and that every time there was a problem at center, he was playing center.
Bro,
and what does he do? He comes out and plays mistake-free football for us. It makes me look like an idiot. So,
and before the game, Tim, I said, I would lean toward Andre Dillard making the roster as a swing tackle. He goes out there and absolutely craps a bed, right? So you got to learn in sports talk, just keep your mouth shut. That's what I'm trying to figure out here. So, Cheesehead Murph said, the offensive line unit except for Dillard. LOL. There it is, right on cue.
Murph got you right away.
Nick McSwain said, do y'all think we'll ever see 2021 Titans game version of Dillon again? I don't understand what happened. He fell off so fast. A lot of it has to do with scheme. Listen, I'm going to say this about A.J. Dillon again. He has not played good. Last year he did not play good. Personally, that's just my opinion. Last night he did not play good. Very small sample size. But if you go and watch the tape, there wasn't an obvious lane to run in. The play got blew up. All 3 of those running plays in a row, there were guys in the backfield on him. My only problem is you're a big boy. Like, stop dancing around the backfield. Yes, I understand they're in your face. Lower your head and drive the pile. That's all you can do in that situation. So I do want to preface that because we're making it sound like, and not you, Jacob, but, just as a whole, all of us were complaining. I was complaining too. We're making it sound like there's a hole right there, hit it. There wasn't one. But when you're that big, you got to lower your head and get that yard. You can't have 3 attempts at 1 yard and get stonewalled. It just can't happen, man. Not when your forte is a power back, right? That's the big thing. So
I guess that's my biggest criticism of him is that when you have that body type, wasn't he like 6'2", 240 or something along those lines? An absolute bruiser of a human. I've just never, it's like he doesn't understand how big he is and how to take the certain angles with the certain inertia. Because, I've played against kids that were tinier than me that just for whatever reason, they knew how to lower that shoulder and the pop, the contact. It was like they would take the wind out of me. And it's like certain players, I look at hockey players that are just can throw a cross check like you've never seen in your life. Certain people just know how to inertia to just absolutely use to make yourself into a human meat missile, the lack of a better term. And again, the whole it kind of epitomized his career when I saw it. Dylan did have like one or two steps. He had a little bit of a leading head start to make contact with the linebacker. The linebacker fell to his knees, made contact while he was on his knees, was able to stand up and drive AJ Dillon back. That should never happen. Never happen.
Well, we all know AJ plays his best football when the snow flies and it's cold. So
that's true.
It's still summertime. Let's give him a little bit of time here, but I don't know. I think he's safe. I'll be honest with you. Right now, I think he's safe. I think he's on this roster.
Especially with that hammy, yeah.
Yeah, I do. So we'll see how the next few weeks play out.
Cheesehead Murph said, if one player I like, it was Dubose. Dubose balled out, man. That catch along the sideline, and there were catches in like third down situations. So he almost felt like the Dobbs of the second team last night, right?
So strong, man. He plays big boy football, man. He's a physical receiver. He's really improved his route running. I think that's where he's really taken a step in the offseason, is working on the route crispiness of the route running. And then, it also helped to have Sean Clifford throwing him some darts, man. Those were some good balls from QB2 there yesterday. And it was fun to get to see Grant DuBose showcase everything he's worked so hard for the last really 2 years to get out here on the field.
I didn't realize he's 6'2", 200. He's a big boy.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Man, he is
thick.
He is, Coach. The other thing too, Tim, you were talking about whether we keep 7 receivers or not. When you talk about DuBose, the way DuBose has looked, I don't want to sit here and pretend like I'm saying DuBose is a dog the entire time. I haven't been saying that. Based off what happened last year with him being banged up and all that, and then camp, you're hearing the noise coming out of camp like, hey, DuBose is looking good. DuBose is looking good. So you got to take that and couple it with the game we seen yesterday. But if you're going to keep 7 receivers here, right, which I think is reasonable, like you were saying, what's wild to think about is Heath and DuBose, the number 6 and number 7, whichever one you put in the 6th spot, you can flip those however you want to do it. Those guys are probably the 3rd best receiver on a lot of teams in the league. That's crazy to think about. I mean, am I off base there? Or do you guys think that's it feels like they could probably be the number 3 receiver on most
Jacob
teams.
Brought that up last night on the pod. That was a great point. Didn't you say that, Jacob? You mentioned that, these guys, if they go to the practice squad, either one of them, there's a chance, they get snatched up by another team, and they're 3 or 4 on the depth chart kind of thing, playing meaningful football.
Especially too, because these guys, when most people think of is a receiver talented, they're obviously going to think about, can he catch well? Does he have the stats? All that. But when you're building the bottom half of your roster, especially, I think that both Malik Heath and DuBose are guys that, one, you could use them on special teams, but most importantly, 2, they're well-rounded team guys, because we know Malik Heath can block. He can block. What we didn't notice is that Grant DuBose, if you rewind it back to tape, that Emmanuel Wilson run where he's trudging through in the middle, guess who's the lead blocker in the middle of that, pushing around a safety and a linebacker to get him.
I was just going to say, DuBose blocked 2 guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that literally, when I saw that, I wrote it in my notes. I went, holy crap. I went, Grant DuBose lead blocking. That's kind of like, I got so jacked on the swing out play where Pratt ended up swinging around and lead blocking, and he's throwing a 250-pound guy. He exploded that play for another 10 yards just from his lead block. It was great, man. I love it.
Yeah, definitely. Prince in the chat says, good morning, Posse. I thought Christian Welch looked pretty good at linebacker. There you go. I didn't see any, there was one play specifically that the box score, when I was reading the play-by-play, just going back through and comparing it to my notes, they had him as giving up a first down. And then I went back and watched the play, and he actually had a mid-hook zone that was opposite the side of the window that the ball was thrown. I'm like, that wasn't on him. That was the only negative mark I really seen, just comparing the play-by-play to my notes. And I'm like, I didn't have that. Let me go back and watch the tape. And I went back and watched it. I went, no, that wasn't on him. He played pretty sound, it seemed like.
Did you notice, too? I was really surprised after they brought out the ones, Raylan Goforth was in at the mic it was only for maybe 2 series or so, but he was before Christian Welch, which I thought that was kind of surprising, because Raylan Goforth was on the absolute bubble to even be on this 90-man team or whatever. So I thought that was a little bit intriguing.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to Goforth much. I'm trying to fix this fan. I apologize. I didn't pay attention to Goforth much. I need to go back and see it. But you think he's a legit shot for maybe the practice squad, something like that, maybe?
Well, it just was surprising to me that he took they slipped him in there. I don't know if you'd even call him second team, but he took reps right after the ones left, and then they put in Christian Welch
out there too, right?
Yeah,
they were kind of mixing and matching there.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah, Christian Welch looked good though, guys. He's on my notes. I got a star next to his name.
He's bigger than I thought he was too. He looks very thick.
And one of those guys, just every damn play, it seemed like he was involved. He's either making contact or he's we saw here. One thing I'm really impressed with this defense is we saw a lot of rallying to the ball carrier. We didn't see a lot of guys, even if they were isolated one-on-one in the flat or something, all of a sudden you saw 2 or 3 green jerseys and these guys are just gang tackling, the ball carrier. And that's where I saw Welch on a lot of these plays. He was either initial contact or he was follow-up contact finishing these plays. And, we have depth now in that linebacker room. I wish we could have seen Edrin Cooper yesterday, Tyron Hopper, those guys, but the depth in the linebacker room is starting to show, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, definitely. Jarrell Lee says, Evan the Man Williams was my MVP. He literally and I went back and watched. I've got a play I was going to show a couple of plays here, and we got to be careful what we do here, even though I'm showing it on Twitter. The reason I'm doing it on Twitter is no one can say, hey, look, somebody on YouTube posted that, because I've actually got it on my Twitter account. You know what I mean? So we're trying to go that route to play it safe, because we are allowed to share NFL footage, right? That's been from day one. We've been allowed to do that. But when we do Chalk Talks this year, though, we are definitely doing them on Rumble. So just be prepared for that. Rumble and X, that'll be exclusive to those. The big thing that stood out to me was Javon Bullard looked good when he was in there early.
Yeah.
And also Devontae White. And that's one of the things I want to show here in a second if we have time. I just want to make sure we're getting everybody's comments up here. But, yeah, Evan Williams looked great. Chris N says Dillard didn't crap the bed. I kind of felt like he did, Chris, but maybe you're seeing something I didn't. There was one play in particular. I think he got called for a penalty, if I remember right, maybe a false start or something. But for someone to have been in the league as long as he has now and to be such a high pick, I'm not expecting him to live up to that first-round talent. I'm not expecting that at all. But I am expecting him to be an above-average starter. You know what I'm saying? And it just doesn't even feel like he's at that level based off what we've heard in camp and how they took him from literally the starting tackle filling in for Tom to now it sounds like he might have 1 or 2 guys ahead of him. I don't know, man. But, yeah. Prince in the chat says Lloyd might be our first hour candidate. That's what it feels like, Prince. I think there's a decent chance. I hope it's not the case, but at the same time, I don't want that stuff lingering all year long, dude. Put him on the hour. Let him get that hammy right early. Cheesehead Murph, back to the shell coverage, says 2 shell is what teams run a lot against Aaron Rodgers. So true, Murph. That's and Aaron always talked about it. He's like, you got to run them out of that shell. You got to pound the rock if you want to get them out of that shell coverage, right? And that's the thing that Joe Barry's defense would do is they force people to stick with the run, stick with the run, stick with the run. Then they would run out of time, and that's how that's where you make your hay is in the red zone. You end up with a top 10, top 15 red zone defense, and then by the end of the year, you look at the scoring defense and you're borderline top 10 in scoring defense, which is what they were last year. So that's the whole purpose of it for sure. Omer says, don't think anyone's missing Savage now. I don't mean to dog the dude now that he's gone, but it's so true, man. You see the difference. And that's I always make the joke. Joe Barry is in Miami or wherever Miami now going, what the hell? Why didn't they get me some guys like that in the safety room? Like, because we were clinging to Darnell Savage for years. And I think now everyone would agree. Yeah, this is what a safety room is supposed to play like, So Prince in the chat says Rochelle helped himself yesterday. Not sure if it will be enough to pass King though. Yeah, King on that quick little play in the flat. Man, there was some pop. Turn the volume up for that. That's exactly what he did well at Penn State.
Wasn't that one too? He lost his helmet. Both him and Evan Williams hit somebody so hard that their helmet ripped off, and they kept playing, dude. I love it.
And of course, the Cleveland announcers, Chris. The Packers need to work on their equipment. My God, they're losing everything. It's like, yeah, forget the
idiot.
Do you remember they also said Chris Rose got his start on the Best Damn Sports Show. Period. Love that show, but then Chris has just bounced around everywhere, and I don't want to slander the man's name, but it's like, bro, you're quirky, for lack of a better way of putting it, smart ass style. Not popular. I hate to break it to you. Newsflash, breaking news. People don't want to hear that. But anyway, go ahead, Jay. What were you going to say, Bo?
No, that same kind of snarky, fun-loving guy, even at some point during the game, he's like, the Packers need to change their pad colors from yellow to green. because a piece of it came off and they were idiots enough to be like, oh, there's a flag. Oh, never mind. It's a piece of the
right. Yeah.
Riveting content.
Dynamite drop in, Monty.
Astute observation.
Bold strategy. Let's see how it works out for him, Cotton.
Yeah. And that's the type of stuff you talk about when you're going into the third quarter and it's 23-3.
That's right.
Yeah,
in all seriousness, though, back to Rochelle, Jacob, you were talking about this too. I think he looked good. I do. I think he helped himself. It's going to be tough, like Prince is saying, to pass Kalen King, because Kalen King looks like another draft steal for us. But Robert Rochelle, man, I think special teams, there may be a spot for him. I know we got this new kickoff situation, but I mean, hey, punting is still the same. Okay, you still need guys to fly down the field on punts and get after it. But Robert Rochelle looked like he took some steps in the right direction, and honestly, he's got a little pop too to his game. He's fun to watch out there. I like him as depth on this team, and we'll see. There is a chance. You never know. There's always a chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Nick McSwain in the chat says Michael Pratt blocking might have been my favorite part of that game. LOL. Michael Pratt to me looked good, and I woke up and I'm like, all right, was I being a fanboy? I went back and watched the tape again. What I watched was the condensed version of the TV copy once again, just to kind of get a refresher this morning. And Dusty Evely on Twitter tweeted out too that man, Pratt looks a lot better than Sean Clifford. That's how I'm seeing it right now too, but it's early. Clifford started off really cold yesterday, but then turned it on there in that second or third drive. Pratt just he plays with that which Clifford plays with that enthusiasm too. Did you see him, John, with the refs a little bit? The refs kind of tone it down. That dude is mouthy. That's the guy. That's your buddy in the group, and you guys know what I'm talking about. Every group's got one. You're in the bar. If you're in the bar in the country like me, or you're in the club in the city. He's that dude that you know. All right, it's 10:30. When's this knucklehead going to start a fight? He's that dude in the group.
Dude, he was talking to the Browns sideline too. They were talking crap on one of those throwaways. I noticed he threw. Did you see that? He threw one away, and like Jameis Winston caught it on the sideline and was like talking to Clifford, and Clifford was talking right back to him. Right. It's hilarious.
Yeah, he's always jawed, and that's what Matt LaFleur. I think when he says he's made of the right stuff, that was the quote he gave on Clifford. That's what he's talking about. Like, we're sitting here kind of tongue in cheek making fun of it, but players in that locker room, they love a quarterback that's willing to do that. Brett was like that. Remember Brett with Warren Sapp? He'd get Warren Sapp. Like, Brett, he's going to break you in half, bro. Calm down.
Absolutely.
But that adds some juice to the team. Like, hey, look, this dude isn't scared of nobody, you know?
That's how Rodgers used to be with the belt, too. You know what I mean?
Right.
Taunting defenders that I own you. Like,
Prince in the chat said, replay the Wilson touchdown run. Pretty sure that was DeBose throwing a big block to get him in. That's good info. Everybody go check that out for sure. That's
Here's the guy.
Yeah, DeBose definitely flashed. Let's do this. Let's go to the PTA Posse over on Patreon. This is our Patreon group. I want to get you guys and gals more involved since you're supporting the show like you are. I really appreciate you. I asked the question this morning in there. Who was everyone's favorite player or everyone's player of the game yesterday? Trevor Anderson, Jeff Hafley. Love it. and he didn't show too much. I was going to show some fronts. We'll probably do it on the show tonight because I've got some screen grabs. I want to show you the different fronts on the opening drive that we kind of put into focus a little bit. But yeah, Trevor Anderson says Jeff Hafley. Then he went on to say, seriously, I still need to watch the replay, but the biggest takeaway for me was the new scheme, even though the Browns played no starters. I'm glad that you put that in there too, Trevor. It's important, right, to mention that. Sandy Lane Packer, or a.k.a. Fractal of God on YouTube, said Evan Williams and DeBose for me and LVN. Agree with all three. If you had to pick a trio of players that played well yesterday, that's it, right, Jacob? That's got to be the trio there.
Yeah, definitely. I would maybe add in that if you had to pick the three, I'd say add in Emmanuel Wilson as well, but that'd be definitely probably the three. If I had to put four, that'd be my Mount Rushmore.
It'll be the most spectacular Mount Rushmore ever.
Don't get me started on that Mount Rushmore. My God, the most recent political comments.
Don't even.
Who belongs on the Mount Rushmore?
No, like, it'd be hilarious though. It would if you put him up there. He would be turned around.
Right back just pressure. Anyway, all right. Back on topic. You guys quit getting political in here, okay? Jason in the chat said, that's tough. Offense, my boy Wilson. Defense, I'm still big on EW, talking about Evan Williams. But for this game, Van Ness takes it, mostly because he was consistent, and it's the first I've really seen him perform to standard we expect. And by that standard, I'm sure what Jason's talking about is a first-round pick, 13th pick overall, right? That dude, I'm telling you, he looks like he's going to be a menace this year.
I think the thing I like about LVN the most is that we all know he's Hercules, right? He's big, strong, tough. He'll run right through or over a guy, but he also has this technical side to the way he approaches, his pass rush and, working in the run fit, containing the edge, these things. He's got good hands. He's got good footwork. And that's what makes him so deadly, right? Because I can go around you or I'll just go right through you and we saw one man, he took that left tackle right back into the box, basically into the pocket, blew up the play. Menace is a great word to describe him. Disruptive. He's a disruptive player on that D line. And when you couple that with guys like Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary, who, I mean, we don't need to talk about what those guys bring to the table. LVN is just the perfect complement in that group, man.
So we've got LVN's a get off the bus guy too, Jake. Like that, you want him walking off the bus first, don't you?
Yep. Yeah, I was just gonna say he's the Luke Ness monster. He could also be called the Van Ness. Wait, the Luke Ness monster or the Van Ness. What did he call him? The Van Ness menace? The Van Ness menace? Let's do that. Okay.
I like it.
Tweak it a little bit.
Call him what you want. I call him a Pro Bowler this year. Let's go.
And the only thing that's going to keep him, I think, from playing at that level, two things: playing time and injuries. I think he's going to force them to play him, man. Oh, yeah. I really am. And he takes such good care of his body and his training regimen. I don't think injuries are going to be a concern for him. He just looks like he's put. Some guys, they're so muscular, it's like they're going to tear a muscle. This dude looks like he's just, like I said, thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. This dude, I think he grew up in the sticks, grew up in the country. I know he's a hockey player, so he's used to kind of taking that beating too. Could you imagine him on the ice, boys? Could you imagine him on the ice? Oh my God.
Do you remember? You know who he reminds me of?
Who's that?
I get definite Jared Allen vibes from him.
I could see that. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The way he's kind of
just very
thick. Now we're gonna do a Photoshop of a mullet on Van Ness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Throw that Iowa waterfall on that cat. You know what I mean? Sandy Lane Packer said Wilson had a good game. And then Jason went on to say, I'm not an X's and O's guys yet. Hey, I love that. I love the yet there, but all you got to do is just repetition. If a knucklehead like me can figure it out to a small percent, you guys can smoke me. I'm just telling you. He says, so I can't speak to the defensive scheme, but you can see the change in mindset and attitude. It's refreshing. The D-line was getting after it play after play. We actually have a run defense, like Tim said, right? And the big thing that you'll notice too, now with every scheme change, there's a positive and there's a negative. The negative of this is you're going to run yourself out of plays. It's going to happen. Just be patient with that, because the object is you're going to get a lot of tackles for loss, which we seen yesterday, right? You've seen several. And like Jacob and Tim both said yesterday, it's like every time they ran the ball, we had bodies around them constantly, right? But you're also going to give up big plays. Like you've seen Brenton Cox Jr. kind of run himself out of the play once or twice. You've seen Devontae Wyatt do it a couple of times. That's going to happen. That's just a part of it. What you're doing is you're playing the run on the way to the quarterback, essentially. Yep. So that just goes with the territory. So the goal is, like Brett used to say back in the day, man, I throw a lot of interceptions, but I throw a lot of touchdowns. As long as I throw more touchdowns than interceptions, they'll probably let me keep playing. That's what he used to say.
That's all we need to see, right? We want to see, as long as there's less of those playing yourself out of the play and more of the good positive stuff. I mean, it's gonna happen. You're right. I think we as fans, we expect perfection on every play, right? And it's just not the way. It's not the way football works. Football is, 22 dudes running around, crashing into each other. There's chaos on every play. You're not gonna blow up every single play. So we gave up a few chunk runs there in the third quarter yesterday. But overall, this defense, particularly in the run game, looks a lot better already. Just through one preseason game, we've already made improvements.
Yeah, definitely. And Jason went on to say DuBose probably had a better game. Wide receivers have a bigger impact, but Wilson is showing what he can do, what a starter can't. So, with Wilson, again, man, the only thing that's going to keep him off this roster, in my opinion, is going to be injuries. It's the only thing that kept him off last year. You guys remember, like he was he was tracking to be like a legit contributor on the team. To me, if it were me personally, and Marshawn Lloyd is going to be, let's say he does start the season. I hope this isn't the case, but let's say he starts the season on IR. I want Emmanuel Wilson to be running back too. That's just me. And that's not a dig at A.J. Dillon. And listen, Emmanuel Wilson might show the same problems that A.J. did, right? And then you can go back to A.J. But you're not going to hurt A.J.'s confidence at this point. I mean, that dude just tested the market. They said he got offered more money than Green Bay offered, but it wasn't enough to warrant him leaving, this area that he loves so much, this area being Green Bay and more specifically Door County. But I think you got to give Emmanuel Wilson a legit shot, man. And we got to make it through camp too. Hopefully this isn't an injury-riddled camp, but the reality is it happens every year, man. So
part of the game.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add? Man, that was great. We're 47 minutes in, and we just got everybody's opinion basically on, hey, who stood out to them. I love that morning after a game. Let's see where everybody's at, type thing. So let's just go around the horn here once real quick. Is there anything you guys want to specifically talk about? I'll start with you, Jacob. Is there anything that hey, man, I wish we would have covered this before we wrap up?
Honestly, no, I think we did most of it. I guess one of the things that I was really disappointed was obviously Bo Melton's performance. It wasn't necessarily just the drops, but there was also just I don't know if he had something going on, but if you remember, it was as we were winding down with under a minute left, he caught a pass maybe a foot outside of the out of bounds line. And instead of just turning and going out of bounds to stop the clock, he cut back and made a move and then took the tackle inside and let the play clock run down a little more. And I was just like, what is Bo doing? So I hope that he just had an off day, because if we are going to keep 6 wide receivers after that performance last night, I mean, I would argue that DeBose and Malik Heath, as far as what have you done for me lately, have been performing better. Now we've seen what Bo can do for us in the long run. So I think that his spot is still secure, but it's willing to look at over the next 2 games. If he continues to, I mean, it was a really bad game for Bo. That was not good. And if he continues that type of streak, and if Malik Heath stays doing Malik Heath stuff, and if Brant DeBose keeps on this ascension that he seems to be on, whatever is going on, it seems to be clicking for him, and he's making it really hard to let him go. So that's just, I'd keep an eye on that. And then the other one would be Javon Bullard. I thought played a lot better than people are giving him credit for. He had a diving interception that probably would have at least had a good chance on it if, I believe it was David Bell, didn't come back and actually play more of a defensive role as a wide receiver and break it up. I don't know if you guys remember that play. And he also had a couple plays where he came up, and like we talked about how we want safeties to play, there was a run play to the left side if you're looking at the offensive formations like Madden View, and he came and shot through, made a shoestring tackle. It looked like he almost missed the tackle, but he got the running back down. He fell forward and stopped him behind the line. So I thought that Bullard played really well. I thought Williams played better. Every time I see the kid play and every time I watch his post-game interview, I think we got a star. I think we got an absolute star. And you guys know how much I love Bullard. For me to say that I think Williams deserves that spot, at least right away, it's pretty cool.
That's cool. We'll just put Bullard in the slot then.
And they did that. That's the other thing. They put Bullard in the slot at least I saw 5 snaps at least.
I'll take that, right? You got X back there. We got Bullard in the slot. You got Williams at the other safety. I'm all for it.
And also, did y'all see how long they left Nixon in the game on defense and how many times he got burned?
Yes, I'm telling you, man. We talked about it all year last year. And I like Keyshawn. He's obviously a great kick returner. If he didn't have his kick return ability, the Packers are not giving him that contract. I'm sorry, there's not. So if you try to remove the kick return ability and say, okay, what would you pay him to play corner? The number I come up with $2.5 million tops, right? And it's mainly because of the experience. Maybe he'll turn it on, but for me, man, Bullard in the slot, Evan Williams playing alongside X, that needs to be your nickel 4-2-5. Bullard's got the speed. He's got the cover ability. In 2022, he played slot for Georgia. 2023, he moved to safety. You talk about somebody who can set in the edge. He plays leverage. He plays the proper half of the player. What I mean by that is
tackling machine. He is a tackling machine.
Sticky tackler, man. That dude, I mean, and it's like Velcro when he latches on. You seen it last night. He made one tackle. I think his helmet came off on that play. Yep. But he just when he gets a hold of it, he's like the honey badger, man. He ain't gonna let go. You know what I'm saying? The honey badger don't give a ish.
Yep.
You guys know what I'm talking about. So
honey badger don't care.
That's the best video. When he gets bit or stung, passes out, then wakes back up and finishes the job. It's awesome. Anyway, no, Bullard didn't pass out, guys. We're talking about a video on YouTube. Okay, they're like, wait, Bullard passed out? No. Anything else, fellas?
Just a couple under the radar kind of guys. We talked a lot about Emmanuel Wilson today. We talked a lot about AJ Dillon today. I'd like to talk about Jarvion Howard. 8 carries, 44 yards.
That's good.
5.5 yards per carry. Ellis Merriweather, he had 2 carries, 7 yards. Nothing extremely spectacular there. But those are 2 names in that running back room that, with the injury to Lloyd here and, AJ being kind of underwhelming, for lack of a better word, keep an eye on these guys, Merriweather and Howard. And then also Julian Hicks.
Hey,
talk about a guy who showed some flashes in that game yesterday. Julian Hicks, it really makes me wonder, like, did we literally just get every receiver in existence and bring them to Green Bay and just tell Goody we're going to figure out how to keep all these guys around? There is just talent in this wide receiver room and tight end room, for that matter. So
do you see, I was going to say Joe Wilson looked pretty darn good, in my opinion. The tight end, he caught a couple balls, looked like he blocked well.
He did, yeah.
But like you said, Tim, I think that Julian Hicks could be that guy. I think he could be this year's version of Malik Heath, like 2 years ago. Remember when we're like, who is this Malik Heath person? Why is he making all these crazy plays? Why is he a dog? We're just going to stash him for a year. Maybe, things are going to happen. Contracts are going to happen with either Dobbs or Watson, and injuries are going to happen. And all of a sudden next year, people will be like, why did the Packers drive a first-round wide receiver? Well, because we got dudes like Julian Hicks that nobody knows about. Just saying.
Definitely.
Yeah, and Joel Wilson, three catches, 30 yards. You're right. I mean, he looked good hands.
He looked fluid,
good
too.
in space.
Yeah.
Stayed on his feet.
I think it was 3 targets, too. Am I thinking right?
Yep.
You
got to love that, right? 3 targets, 3 catches.
Absolutely. It's crazy. You get to this time of year, and this is who I think of. I kind of see Joe Wilson as Ben Sims was last year.
Yeah.
Like that up and coming, like, hey, okay, this guy can contribute. The same thing with Jarvion Howard. To me, he feels like the new Emmanuel Wilson. Like Emmanuel Wilson's that practice squad guy, right? Stashing Jarvion Howard on the practice squad and elevating him when you need him from time to time could be huge.
There is a change, though. You can see the trend with our running back room, right? Like we had to rip everyone's hearts out, and Aaron Jones is gone. But, what else is gone is that light, lean, shifty, pass-catching, quick type of running back. And we've got shifty, quick, pass-catching running backs that are also bruisers and will lower the shoulder and hit the gap and go strong and play big boy football. Emmanuel Wilson does it. Josh Jacobs does it. We know A.J. Dillon's capable of doing it. It usually only happens in November and December, though. We've got, these guys we just talked about on the back end with Merriweather and Howard. They just look, like Haf said, they look like
thick.
As opposed to we talked about thunder and lightning. We wanted to see thunder and lightning all those years with Jones and Dillon, and that never really kind of came into fruition at the same time. It was usually one or the other. Yeah. To me, it looks like this running back room is a lot more thunder with little dashes of lightning, and I'm here for it. I love it.
I was trying to find a tweet, and I can't remember who tweeted it. I don't think I was following the person, but it came across my feed, and we need to wrap up anyway. But someone posted, I think it was the first drive for Aaron Rodgers when he took over. It was his second year as a starter, and the first drive he hit Donald Driver for a touchdown, a deep touchdown, and they just went ahead and pulled him. And it was like pretty much the same exact thing that happened yesterday with Jordan Love. And you keep seeing this stuff over and over and over, don't you? Like, literally, at these points in each other's career. I mean, you've seen the numbers last year between Aaron when he was young and Jordan the first year as a starter, how it was just so comparable. But I just love the fact that there were so many haters going, I think Jordan Love was a flash in the pan. That second half wasn't the real Love. He comes out literally on the second pass and just
And
a bomb.
by the way, that was against Ward, the cornerback, an all-pro cornerback. So
Was
it's
it
not like
okay? I was wondering who it was. Yes, so that's
yeah.
great.
So yeah, it wasn't like Dontavian went out there and just went up against Joe Schmo third teamer. Yeah, he went up against all-pro cornerback and absolutely torched him, which was cool too. Is if you watch him, Ryan talked about on his
He
podcast
hit the nos on that one, man.
Yeah, but the thing is when he started out on that route, and while he was still parallel with the defender's right next to him. He doesn't have an inch of brick, or he throws his hand up. Wicks throws his hand up. Jordan throws the ball before he even makes his break, and it was like just perfect. Hit him in
Wicks
stride.
just ran underneath
just
it.
Hit the nitrous. Yeah, hit that Paul Walker. Just pew.
Monazer. So the big thing with that play too, and we broke it down and told you exactly what the play was: the 11 gum, Y flex, tray right, all that. Jordan ball snap, single high man. All right, there's my play. Bang. Just so fluid.
Oh, what's going on over here?
Psych. Yeah, it was great. All right. Let's get out of here, boys. Appreciate y'all. This was a lot of fun. We'll be back tonight, 7 p.m. Central Time, to continue breaking down. What we're going to cover tonight was the stuff I wanted to get to, but I'm telling you, the chat was so lit. I want to get your all's immediate reactions, the night, the day after, morning after the games, if at all possible. So we got that accomplished here. I think it's important for us to keep our finger on the pulse in that regard. We're going to cover Devontae Wyatt tonight. We're also going to hit on that opening drive for defense, what the defensive fronts look like. Were they in unders? Were they in overs? Were they playing with a stacked box? All that type of thing. I got all those screen grabs as well. And then, of course, we got Paul Brettle's instant takeaways we're going to try to get to this evening as well. Really cool article there. You guys make sure you go give Paul Brettle a follow on Twitter. So we'll see y'all tonight at 7 p.m. Central. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Thanks to everyone in the Patreon group. Again, if you're interested in joining the Patreon group, just go to patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access, or just go to patreon.com and search Packer Fan Total Access. Really cool community in there that we're creating. We appreciate everybody supporting us there. So we'll see y'all tonight.
For those of you listening on the pod,
thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. And go Pack, go.